so hello, welcome back to the channel. How good are Brighton right now? I mean, realistically, they're probably a lot of people's second favourite team, probably not the Crystal Palace fans, but they're a joy to watch, and they've got talent coming out of their ears. It's unbelievable the squad that they actually have, considering everyone they've got rid of. And their rise from League 2 all the way into the Premier League and European football, it's probably a better story than when Bournemouth got into the Premier League, or even when Luton have just gotten into the Premier League now. Because if it wasn't for one game back in 1997, we wouldn't even have Brighton and Hove Albion at all. In the 96-97 season, that's when they nearly went bust, and it was the great escape because they were bottom of the League 2 league for a long time in that season, and it wasn't until Steve Gritt took over as manager. It's also probably the darkest time in the club's history because they were having fan protests in the middle of the pitch, in the middle of games, which led to a 2-point deduction from the FA because of this, obviously putting them in a worse state, and they were 13 points off safety at the bottom of the table. It truly was a remarkable escape back then. Also, before we get into the rest of that, if you could subscribe, share the video around, give it a wee like, that would really help the channel grow. We're trying to grow to 200 subs as soon as possible, so every little helps with that. Right, let's get back into it. To stay in the Football League, they had to avoid defeat. Win or draw against Hereford, who were at the bottom with them, and they were safe, and it probably secured their status. I say probably because it wasn't even a guarantee that if they stayed up, the money would be enough to keep them afloat. And it started in the worst possible way with them going 1-0 down, and then it wasn't until the second half where Robbie Reynolds scored the equaliser, keeping Brighton afloat, probably the club's most important goal ever. After that, Brighton, they slowly started to climb the Football League, got a few knockbacks, but then they established themselves as a championship style club. And I remember when they got the likes of Sami Hyypiä and Gus Poyet to be managers at the club, and it looked like they were building something really exciting, but it just didn't seem to work out for either of them. Then in the 16-17 season, they finally got promoted to the Premier League, but they probably should have won the league title, in all honesty, that season. They finished by Newcastle, who were finished on 94 points to 93 points, and on the final day, they really bottled it. They lost 2-1 to Reading, and Newcastle won 3-0 away to Barnsley, leapfrogging Brighton and winning the championship. But at the same time, it didn't matter because they were finally in the Premier League. Chris Hughton was the man to guide them into the Premier League, and he was in charge for 2 full seasons in the Premier League, finishing 15th in their first season and 17th, just avoiding relegation in their second season. During the 1920 season, Chris Hughton was sacked, and it saw the arrival of Graham Potter, and he brought with him a philosophy of almost tiki-taka football as well, a ball-playing possession team that can play out from the back and play lovely football. And for the 3 full seasons that he was there, he got 15th, 16th, but then he got them 9th and a top half finish, which, unbelievable really, and surely it was a one-season fluke, right? Wrong, because last season Graham Potter left early on and went to Chelsea, and it looked like he left Brighton in disarray, and they just got Roberto De Zerbi, and they finished 6th, whereas Chelsea finished 12, obviously proving that maybe it wasn't the man, maybe it was the club as a whole. But De Zerbi has done fantastically, finishing 6th, getting European football for the club for the first time ever, and on top of that, they are currently top of the Premier League. And the philosophy of the club seems to be sell the best players, the ones that have the most interest behind them, but only sell them for large sums of money, massive profit on them, the likes of Caicedo, and then reinvest it into younger talent where they can then look to do the same thing, although they have just gotten rid of their best player, sadly. But don't worry, it's only on loan. Odell Ofia at Hearts, he is phenomenal, and he's going to win the quadruple with Hearts. It's that simple. When I say that they do try and buy younger players, they look at undervalued younger players who show great talent, skill, and intelligence. They look for players whose skill set, role, and age can align with the Brighton structure. And the way that they actually even get these players, as opposed to bigger clubs getting them, is the fact that they offer them game time and experience that the likes of Manchester United and Liverpool, they can't offer the younger talents because they're looking to win now, whereas Brighton are looking to develop them and still compete. So that's why a lot of young players will choose to go to Brighton as opposed to going to a major club. Since their promotion to the Premier League, Brighton have actually bought the second most amount of players in that time, 174 players. The only team that have actually bought more, surprisingly, is Chelsea with 184. But if Todd Bowley wasn't playing Ultimate Team or Football Manager, Brighton would have bought the most players since then. But this wasn't always the club's philosophy, because when you are a smaller team and you get promoted to the Premier League, the first thing is stay in the Premier League. That is the most important thing, and that's what they did for the first 4 years, from 2017 to 2021. They actually bought about £208 million worth of talent, and they only sold players for £37 million in that time. Now that doesn't sound like the current Brighton, but it just proves that they learned how to adapt to the Premier League, and then once they did learn how to survive in the Premier League, they then learned, right, now we can start flipping things and really start making some money here. Because in the past 2 years, from 2021 to 2023, they have bought talent worth 199 million. Yes, that's a lot, and nearly as much as what they did in the previous 4 years, but they have sold talent for 363 million. That means their whole time in the Premier League from 2017 all the way up until 2023, that means that they've bought talent for 407 million, but they've sold talent for 410 million. Yes, 3 million gross profit. It doesn't sound an awful lot, but you've got to think, after those 4 years, that's been an incredible 2-year turnaround. But there's still a club who have sold the best players, but they still keep on getting better. I mean, they've just sold Caicedo for 115 mil, Cucurella for 62 million, White for 50 million, McAllister 35 million, Trossard 27 million, and Basuma and Sanchez have just gone for 25 million as well. It's remarkable the amount that they've got for those players. There's always talks about clubs that are not well run. You think of Newcastle under Mike Ashley, Man United are not a well run club, Arsenal weren't for a while until recently, Liverpool aren't a brilliantly well run club, but the clubs that are well run, the likes of current day Newcastle, Man City, they've had boosts of financial injections, and that's no shade on either of them. It's just the fact that I think Brighton are the best run club in the country because of the fact that they've not had these financial boosts. Yes, they've had it ever so slightly from new owners here and there, but realistically, it's not been on the same level as anyone else. I mean, look how they've even started this season. They've won both Premier League games 4-1 from Wolves and Luton, and yes, I don't think they're the toughest competition. In fact, I think Luton will get relegated and Wolves are going to be very close to relegation if they don't get relegated. But the fact is, you've got to win these games, and they've won them very convincingly. And they've got European football, so it'll be very tough to see how they can balance the squad. Maybe they still need a few more players into the squad to get a bigger, healthier squad. But their actual starting 11 is brilliant. I'll be honest, I think they need a new goalkeeper overall. I don't think Jason Steele is the man. I could be proven wrong, but I don't think he is the guy to lead them in European football. But they do have a top 5 manager in the league. I don't want to hear anyone saying De Zerbi is not a top 5 manager, because look at what he's done with this Brighton team. It's phenomenal, and I don't think many other managers in the league could do what he's actually done. I mean, let's just go through their team. You've got the like of the captain Lewis Dunk, Adam Webster, Danny Welbeck, Joe Veltman. They are as solid players as they come. Then you add in the likes of Milner, Lallana and Dahoud, who they just brought in as well. That gives European experience and a certain level of experience for these younger players. You've also got the most electric and maybe the best left side in the entire league, in the best left back, in my opinion, in the league, in Estupinan, and Matoma, whose brilliant solo goal against Wolves just caps off who he really is as a player. You also have the likes of Solly March and Pascal Gross, who put in 7, if not 8 out of 10s every single game. You've got Eneso, Gilmore, as well as Evan Ferguson and Pedro, who they just signed from Watford. And those are all electric, brilliant young talents who are all going to have great seasons ahead of them, if not this season, for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, and they'll probably actually even sell them for more of a profit than they even bought them for. The Rise of Brighton is brilliant, and it's one of the best in all of football. How far will they go this season? Well, maybe a cup run. They obviously got to the semi-finals last year of the FA Cup, but who knows, maybe try and get to another semi-final of a cup competition. If they could get to the knockout rounds of the Europa League, and if they can try and get back into the European places, which might be a bit of a tough ask with everything that's going on. If they do 2 of these 3 things, it's going to be a wonderful season for Roberto De Zerbi's men overall, and they're just a joy to watch. So that was the video there, the Rise of Brighton. Let me know what you guys think about Brighton and their rise from obscurity and bankruptcy all the way to European football. If there's anyone else you want me to do it on, please let me know. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe as well. It really helps the channel out. Thank you so much. Cheers.